Have you ever wondered why Jews and Muslims strictly forbid pork, while Christians have no such restriction? After all, if these three religions trace their roots back to the same God and share many Old Testament traditions, why does this significant difference exist? What is so special about pork that two of the world's major religions prohibit it, while the other consumes it freely? Are there spiritual, sanitary, or historical reasons behind this? And most intriguingly, should Christians reconsider this habit? In this video, we will dive deep into the history, theology, and cultural reasons behind this prohibition. You'll be surprised by what lies behind this striking difference among these religions. The origins of the prohibition of pork. What do the Bible and the Quran say about pork? The prohibition of pork is clearly mentioned in both the Old Testament and the Quran. Leviticus chapter 11, verses 7 and 8. And the pig, though it has a divided hoof, does not chew the cud. It is unclean for you. You must not eat their meat or touch their carcasses. They are unclean for you. Deuteronomy chapter 14 verse 8. The pig is also unclean. Although it has a divided hoof, it does not chew the cud. You are not to eat their meat or touch their carcasses. Quran, Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter 2, verse 173. He has only forbidden you dead animals, blood, the flesh of swine, and that which has been dedicated to other than Allah. From these passages, we can see that both Judaism and Islam follow a divine command to avoid the consumption of pork. But why? Religious and spiritual reasons. For Jews and Muslims, obedience to God is one of the fundamental pillars of faith. If God has commanded that something should not be consumed, there is no need for further questioning. It is a divine decree. Dietary purity is not seen as merely an arbitrary rule but as a means of sanctification, separating the sacred from the profane. In Judaism, dietary laws are part of Kashrut, Jewish dietary laws, which determine which foods are pure and which are impure. Eating food considered impure is not just a matter of health or hygiene but a spiritual separation and obedience to divine precepts. Kashrut reinforces the Jewish identity and their covenant with God, establishing a commitment of faithfulness that goes beyond the simple act of eating. In Islam, the prohibition of pork is part of Halal dietary laws, what is permissible according to God's will. In the Quran, Allah establishes guidelines to ensure that Muslims live in purity and accordance with their faith. The consumption of impure meat such as pork is seen as a transgression that affects not only the body but also the soul. Followers of these religions believe that obedience to God's commandments brings blessings and protection. This dietary restriction is not just a religious duty but a way to maintain closeness to the divine and preserve the sanctity of everyday life. For many Jews and Muslims, consuming pork would mean straying from God's will, a violation of a spiritual commitment upheld for generations. Moreover, in the religious context, the idea of impurity associated with pork extends beyond the meat itself. In Judaism, the Torah frequently associates ritual impurity with certain animals and practices, and the pig has become a symbol of this impurity, reinforcing the identity of God's chosen people. In Islam, obedience to Allah's commandments is a sign of total submission, and the rejection of pork is an expression of that submission. Therefore, the prohibition of pork goes far beyond a simple dietary rule. It carries profound spiritual significance and serves as a constant reminder of faith and devotion to God, establishing a clear distinction between those who follow these precepts and those who do not. Sanitary and historical reasons. Beyond spiritual reasons, there are also historical and sanitary factors that may have influenced these prohibitions. Hygiene concerns. In ancient times, pigs were seen as impure animals because they often lived in filthy environments and were primary carriers of diseases. Associated diseases. Consuming undercooked pork can transmit diseases such as trichinosis, which is caused by parasites present in the animal's meat. Climatic factors. In the hot regions of the Middle East, raising pigs was less viable than raising sheep or goats, as pigs require more water and shade to survive. What about Christians? Why do they eat pork? If the prohibition against pork is in the Old Testament, why don't Christians follow this restriction? The answer lies in the New Testament. Mark chapter 7 verse 15. Nothing outside a person can defile them by going into them. Rather, it is what comes out of a person that defiles them. Acts of the Apostles chapter 10, verses 13 to 15. Peter has a vision where God shows him various impure animals and says, "Get up, Peter. Kill and eat." Peter hesitates as he has always followed Jewish dietary laws, but God responds, "Do not call anything impure that God has made clean." These passages show that, according to Christian interpretation, with the coming of Jesus and the New Testament, Old Testament dietary laws were no longer mandatory. The focus shifted to spiritual purity rather than dietary rules. With the new covenant established by Jesus, the emphasis was placed on what is in a person's heart rather than external rituals. Purity came to be understood as something internal, related to conduct, love, and faith rather than dietary restrictions. Additionally, the inclusion of Gentiles, non-Jewish peoples, into Christianity also influenced this shift. Since most converts did not follow Jewish traditions, maintaining these dietary restrictions could have been a barrier to spreading the faith. Thus, dietary freedom was seen as a reflection of the new phase of God's plan, where salvation was available to all, regardless of dietary practices. Therefore, Christians came to understand that they were free from the old Jewish dietary restrictions and began consuming pork without religious concern. The defining difference of each faith. The prohibition of pork among Jews and Muslims is a matter of obedience and tradition, while for Christians, the release from dietary laws symbolizes the new covenant established by Jesus. This difference in dietary approach reflects not only religious commandments but also historical contexts and theological interpretations that have shaped each religion over time. Now that you understand the reasons behind this major difference among these three religions, we want to know, what do you think about this topic? Do you believe Christians should reconsider this practice, or is the freedom given by the New Testament sufficient? If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with others so we can continue bringing enlightening content on spiritual and historical topics. May God bless you and see you in the next video.